Hello and welcome. It is the first Tuesday of the month. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast. That means it's time for the Philmont Trek Talk Facebook group's monthly live chat about all things Philmont. So as usual, we will give a minute or three. We'll just kind of chew the fat, chit chat a little bit amongst ourselves while we're waiting for people to filter in. It takes a moment after we hit the go live button for Facebook notifications to go out, for YouTube notifications to go out. You can find this. Of course, if you're hearing this, you already know because you've already found us. But we are live on the Gear Report Facebook page, on the Gear Report YouTube channel, as well as the Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook. All right, we got people showing up already. So a couple reminders. If you're coming through Facebook, there's a link in the in the announcement in the Philmont Trek Talk group. There is a link for a page you can go to give permission to show your identity through Facebook. Because we're using StreamYard as our broadcast tool, it doesn't show who you are when you leave a comment. Unless you do that, we get something like this that says Facebook user. So I would love to know who that is, who was on Trek 16 on 616 S. What do we call S? I'm going to call it sausage, or I don't know. I don't have a good S.
Stinger.
Oh, look at this. Stinger. There you go.
Nice.
We'll leave the honey off. All right. Jake.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
Awesome. All right. This is pretty cool. So, so if you're out there and you want to leave a comment and you want it to show up with your name and not Facebook user, find that link, click on it, give StreamYard permission to show your Facebook ID. And, and then you don't have to type your name in the comment so that we know who it is. Welcome to everyone. Shaggies. All right, so we got some people showing up. That's excellent. I'll tell you. Oh, we're getting a little echo now.
No, that was my phone in the distance telling me the hurricane's coming.
You gonna be okay?
Yeah.
All right. If you need to go do some hurricane prep or something, we can let you out of this if you need to.
We don't do hurricane prep. It's not even the category 1. We
right. Yeah, it's my buddy TJ on the East Coast that I go stay with sometimes. He said, unless it's category 3 or better, there's no use doing anything but maybe getting a little extra beer. So
that's about all. And make sure the coffee's warm.
Yep. All right. So I think it's showing 25 people have started watching now. So now's the time to ask you, if you are watching, if you're one of the 27 people. Oh, look at that. Your comment test was successful, Darren. Thank you. If you're one of the 27 people out there, please leave a comment. Please click the little like or thumbs up or whatever, depending on what platform you are. What that'll do is it'll feed the algorithm so that more people who may be interested in participating will see that we are chatting, and then they will be able to participate and enrich the conversation and make it that much better for everyone. So, man, we got a lot of people showing up here. Thank you so much. If you're out there and you have not been on the trail yet and you have any questions that you're dying to get answered, the topic that we're going to kind of hone in on this one is for folks who have been on the trail already this summer. What have you learned? What's new? What's different? You know, we want to get all of that information into people's hands. If there's anything useful you learned out there that you want to share with people to help them have a better trek when they go later. We got a lot of people coming up in the comments. Here's a 710, a 718, some 715s. These people are going to be hitting the trail pretty soon. So let's do what we can to give them all the information that we can so they have the best trek possible. All right. I have stalled for about 5 minutes. We got, looks like 34, 36, something like that, people. Awesome. I think it is time to go around the horn and do introductions. So I'll start and then we'll go this way and then down. All right. So hi, I'm Jeff. I'm the skipper of Sea Scout Ship 4019 in Burlington, North Carolina, an assistant scoutmaster with Troop 19. And I just got back from a trek with that guy down there, Jake. We were both 618 Alpha 1. We did a 12-day trek. It was trek itinerary 16, which kept us in the South Country. So we will both be able to answer any questions about that, talk about things in the South Country moving forward. And now let's go this way. Josh.
Yeah, good evening, Jeff and everybody. Josh Mann, I'm the Scoutmaster for Troop 1147 in Pickerington, Ohio, on the southeast side of Columbus. Was on Trek 608 Bravo. We did itinerary 12-6. So we were one of the early crews that went out. I think we were there the third day.
Wow.
Philmont was open this year, and that was my second trek. I went in 1992 as a 15-year-old young man.
Excellent. Can't wait to hear what you learned on the trail. You want to share with people? All right, Darrel.
Yeah, it's Darrel Tadsen, St. Charles, Missouri. Returned a week ago from Philmont, where I served on staff at the Welcome Center for 2.5 weeks. So had an enjoyable experience there. Also met with my crew, one of my 4 crews up in the Vol. Spent a night at Ring Place and Iris Park. So they were on itinerary 1227. So I got a lot of feedback from them as far as their trek and the North Country. Anyways, also a veteran of a number of years at Philmont, and looking forward to, like Sal, headed out there next year. Got my reservation in already for 613.
Nice. And when you say lots of years, it is not an inconsequential number. I'm not going to call you out with the number, since you tend to be very modest about that. But I will tell you, it may be more than the rest of us all put together.
Well,
So thank you for sharing your knowledge here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I usually say a couple.
Yeah.
Couple dozen.
Sal, you're up.
Sal Porto, Assistant Scoutmaster, Troop 212. I led the Greater Tampa Bay Council 6 contingent crew. I was on 621 SO2, doing Trek 24 North Country up and also up in the Badal area. Awesome time.
Nice.
I'm
All right.
Jake McIlvain out of Troop 49 in Charlotte, North Carolina. First time at Philmont. We did Trek 1216. Just like Jeff. 618 Alpha 1.
Yeah. All right. Did you see I wore the Troop 49 shirt, Jake?
You know, now I feel bad. I wish I would have worn mine.
Well, it's okay. I'm wearing it for you. It's all right. We are in solidarity here, supporting Troop 49. Oh my goodness, you got fans out there. Look at that.
Woo!
Not just Jake, but Jake with 2 exclamation points.
There you go.
All right. Lots of folks chiming in saying what trek they're going to be on. I haven't seen a lot of questions yet. So if you got those burning questions before you hit the trail, go ahead and put them in the comments. Let us know what they are. So who's got something pressing that you just have to share with people on the panel here? Who wants to go first? Break the ice and start talking about it's Reese. All right. Reese is wearing it too, so you're okay, Joe. We get 2 out of 3. We're good.
The panel, I had a question. I spoke with a young lady who's going out, I think 713. She asked if there was a magic number, they're all looking for that, of how much water per mile or whatever. If they got a 6-mile hike, should they be taking 6 liters, something like that? My comment to this person was, I would go, obviously it's, dependent upon where you are, the weather, the heat, and so forth, but probably a rule of thumb, maybe a liter per hour. What do the rest of you think about that?
Y'all play cleanup on this. Y'all jump in.
Okay, I'm thinking how much water did we drink? I found that since we were in the 6 days of the rainy season for some reason, when we were there, we actually drank less water, probably because we were soaking wet. We had to force ourselves to drink. Well, I would say probably a liter, maybe every hour, hour and a half. I mean, because depending on how far you got to go, and it also depends on your water source on the trail that you're going to be on. If you're running like on where you always have water the whole day, you can carry less because you can only carry one or two and drink one and purify and keep on going. But if you're going a long distance with no water, then you can carry more. So it all depends on the trail.
Yeah.
There is no right answer.
Yeah. Her question was more, how much per time period, whether you got a water source or not. I mean, that's certainly going to dictate how much you carry. If you're walking alongside of a stream for 5 miles, you don't need to carry six liters.
Right.
But I would say you're probably consuming a liter an hour.
Yeah, that would be a good guess.
So
Yeah, I would say unless you're in the open. So something we found, we got really lucky several times where we had some long stretches of open, like going from Rayado to Rayado River on our first day. It was overcast, and we may have got misted on a little bit, but we didn't really get rained on. But it was solid overcast pretty much that whole walk. Well, that walk is on a road. It's out in the open. If we didn't have cloud cover, we would have baked. We may have needed 2 liters per hour or more, but because we were under cloud cover, we may not have drank a whole liter each hour on the trail. We probably should have, but point being, it really depends on where you are and what you're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and another point on that is that's a day, if you're going to be walking 6 miles in the sun, get up early that day and get on the trail.
Exactly. It's a nice segue into stay hydrated.
Nice. I like that. Is that a smellable?
Not anymore.
It was.
Right. All right, here's another question. Rain, how wet will we get? Boy, I can't even begin to answer that.
Yes, it depends if you get rain. I mean, we were in the 6 days of the unusual rain that we never have at Philmont. That was unusual for us to get 6 days straight rain. But usually Philmont rain only lasts like 2 hours, 3 hours, and it stops. But this year it was 6 days straight.
Yeah, I think we got 3 or 4 of those days where it was just unbroken rain.
We went 8.5 days without hardly any rain, and then 3 or 4 days with pretty solid rain.
Yeah, so it all depends.
You guys may hate me.
I've been staying in touch with the Welcome Center guys, and the monsoon season has certainly arrived at Philmont, and it's arrived with vengeance. The typical afternoon rains of an hour. They're seeing heavy downpours for hours, maybe even into the evening. So my recommendation for those going out is good rain gear and be prepared.
All right, so that's a good segue into a question. Now, this was directed specifically at Josh or Sal, so I'm going to see if I can stay out of this. Rain gear. I like a poncho, but Gore-Tex jacket and pants seem better. What do you guys think?
If you go off my experience on 2 tracks at Philmont, I'd say leave your rain gear in your tent back at base camp. I've successfully executed 2 tracks without a drop of rain. I understand that's rare, and I made that comment in the group when I got back, and a lot of people jumped on me. It was done tongue in cheek, but I've been lucky enough to not hit any rain both times. So
okay, I use a good rain jacket, and also use a rain kilt, which worked pretty good this year. I loved it because the only thing that got wet was from the ankles down, and I could put it on and off in like 10 seconds, and it weighs like 2 ounces, and it fit in the pocket of my jacket. So that's my recommendation. But make sure they're a good rain jacket and rain pants or rain kilt. I know Mr. Jeff is the poncho man, but that's okay.
So what I'm going to say about rain gear is the poncho worked great for me, but mainly because I had other layers under it that would keep me warm even if they got a little bit damp. And that's really the secret. So rain gear, really backpacking rain gear is a little different than rain gear that you use other places, in that oftentimes you want something to keep you bone dry. Well, that's not really realistic when you're backpacking up and down mountains at Philmont, because you're going to sweat to death. It's about moisture management. And because, when I went to, back in the day, when the Air Force sent me to Air Force Survival School and they talked about cold weather survival, the saying was, you sweat, you die. You get that sweaty layer up against your body, and then you stop moving and you cool off. You'll get chilled, and you could have a real hypothermia situation that's kind of dangerous. So I don't care what you use as your outer layer. Understand that moisture management is probably the most important thing. As long as you can manage that and treat your reindeer as something. I just said reindeer, didn't I? Rain gear as something to keep you from getting hypothermia, and I think you'll be in good shape. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay, good sense.
Yeah. So anyone else have any rain gear comments before you jump off of this one?
Well, the only comment I would make is that a jacket and pants can do dual duty. It doesn't have to be raining to put on your rain jacket. I mean, that can be your jacket with a light fleece underneath for the evening. If the jacket is going to keep the rain out, it's probably going to keep the wind out too, so you can stay pretty warm.
Sure.
And make it do dual purpose.
On that, I used my jacket a lot as a windbreaker, and I like that aspect of it.
Yep, we saw a lot of that in our crew, folks using their jackets.
No, I used a rain jacket along with my other jacket just to keep the wind off of me.
Yeah. All right, here's a neat question. How crowded is the trail? Did you miss any programs because of late signups? So it's 2 questions, could be separate. So, all right, I'll take a first crack at this and say that this year, a typical year, as I understand it, about 20,000 participants on the trail is considered fairly normal over the course of the summer. In 19, as they were making up for 18 being canceled, I believe I heard something like 23 or 26,000 is what they had. And this year, I believe the number I heard was more like an expected 29,000 participants over the course of the summer trek season. So any way you slice that should result in higher population density out on the trail, especially when you consider that whole burn zone is eliminated. All of those trails that would normally have some number of people on them, those people got shifted out to other trails most of the time. So yeah, I think you should expect to see more folks on the trail to be slightly more crowded than normal. Personally, it didn't feel that crowded to me most of the time. What'd you guys see?
I didn't think it was as crowded as usual. I mean, the trails, you'd pass people here and there, but you didn't run it. It wasn't like I don't think it was crowded compared to my other treks. Now, some of the camps might have been your bigger camps like Baldy and Poniel. They're always going to be busy, so you might as well just suck that one up and you're at the bigger camp. But
oh yeah,
the smaller camps like French Henry, Metcalf, there was 2 or 3 crews in there when we got there. There wasn't a lot. Matter of fact, we went to Indian Ridings the day before we were supposed to, and they slotted us into Adelats, and we got an extra program out of it. So wow. It wasn't crowded for us.
And it goes back to getting up and getting on the trail. If you can get into those, especially like Sal said, those big camps, Poniel, Poblano, Baldy, where there's a lot of traffic. You get in there first, you don't have to worry about, having to wait for program or missing it.
The only time we missed program is when the boys didn't want to do it. Otherwise, we would have made every program.
The other thing too is like John said, getting into camp early. But the backcountry staff has been advised to, how do I want to put it? Been advised to take care of those that are staying in that camp as opposed to crews passing through wanting to do a program, because people chose that particular camp possibly for whatever program was going on. So pass-through crews are going to be taken as they can. There's no guarantee that as a pass-through crew, you're going to be able to do a program at a particular camp.
That's true. Yeah, we didn't, like I said, we didn't miss any of our programs because we were late or anything. We missed a couple programs because the boys didn't want to do it. So they were just tired. They'd rather take a nap one day.
Right.
So we worked really hard one day to go seven or so miles to get to Apache Springs, and we thought we made great time. And when we got there, there was only one program left to sign up for, and so our boys were a little disappointed that they hiked the trail pretty hard and didn't get a chance to do some of the programs. So it is, get up and get there if that's something you want to do.
Yep, that's true. Get up
Like I
early.
said,
We tried to be on the trail by 6 o'clock every morning. Some days we made it, some days.
We got into Cypress Mine as a pass-through, and we got to do 2 programs there because people hadn't signed up and there was space for us. But said it's not a given. So,
And there's
we were in by noon, Jake, weren't we, at Apache? Yeah. And we got the very last 3D archery slot for the day. Our sister crew came rolling in slightly after us, like not too far behind. They were pushed to the next morning, and that impacted when they could get rolling the next day. They spent the first half of the day there at Apache Springs, where we got up and hit the trail early so we could get on to the next thing.
That's true.
All right, good. So I think that covered that question pretty well. I've got to share this with you guys. If you haven't been there yet, go get you some Philmont bison sticks and pork snack sticks.
I had mine earlier.
Oh, yeah. This is the jalapeno. Which
the jalapeno,
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
We get one of these if you want to. There you
go.
Those are okay. I really like the mint chocolate ones, though.
Yeah, the mint chocolate one.
I'll fight you for those.
And if you're really desperate.
Oh, no.
No, not that desperate.
Mm-mm.
Okay, just checking. I don't know what else I have stuck in my goodie bag yet. I may have more.
I'll tell you that Alpanade, I know you make fun of it, but when you're dehydrated or low, it really picks you up. It doesn't taste that great, but it's a good picker up.
I like it.
Yeah, nobody complained.
We have people complain on Acclimate. I like it. Problem I had, though, is the way the meal rotation works is you get numbered by what day you're on. It didn't show up in the meal packs until pretty late in our track. Like, we should have been pretty well acclimated by the time we got the Acclimate altitude energy and hydration, they call it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so we had a report here from a Facebook user that they didn't use as much water on the trail, had extra for dinner. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of us saw. And then, once it turns hot, crews that are looking to skimp on how much water they carry are going to get a rude awakening, I think. We did 4 to 5 liters per day. That seems pretty standard for normal times, maybe a little less if it's really rainy, whole lot more if you get up late and you're hiking in the hottest part of the day and it's, the hotter part of the season.
Yep, it all depends on where you're going and what time of day.
For those unable to summit Baldy due to bad weather, how are crews informed? We're leaving from a trail camp that day. Man, that's a good question. I have not experienced that. Any of you guys?
If you go through Baldy Town, usually after 8 o'clock in the morning, they'll let you know. That's what I was told. But if you get through Baldy early in the morning, nobody's up. Nobody's going to tell you not to go. We came in through Upper Greenwood, and then we came back down. We were told we shouldn't have summited because you couldn't see the top of Baldy. It was all fog. It was all cloudy. Mm-hmm. But we went up anyways, but because nobody told us we couldn't. But I was told Baldy Town shuts. If you go through Baldy Town, that's the only staff camp that you could go through. If you go through there, they're going to tell you not to go or not. But if you go through the other side,
you go from Miranda.
Yeah, if you go through Miranda, through Black Horse, or from Copper Park, there's nobody there to stop you. You got to use your own judgment.
Yeah, it becomes a judgment thing, and you hike on, and if the weather closes in, you got to abort your plan. But once you get to coming up from Baldy Town, once you get the saddle, you're above tree line. If you're coming up from Copper Park, once you get to the top of that ridge, you got about a half hour, and then you're out in the open, and you can see the weather, whether it's coming or not. And that's not a place to be in the open.
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
All right. Let's see. Darrel, this is probably a question for you since you were working in the Welcome Center until not too long ago. Our official start date is 7/13. They're getting there a day early on 7/12. What's the latest they can arrive to check in?
Okay, the Welcome Center for those veterans used to be a 24-hour operation. It is now open from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. Obviously, they would like you to arrive as early as you can. When you arrive early, you will be given your tent assignment in what they call a table talk. And once you go to your tent and pack in your gear, that evening is pretty well up to you what you want to do. You will be issued a meal voucher for both supper and breakfast, and then you meet your ranger at logistics at 8:15 in the morning. So if you're a 7:13 crew, you'd meet your ranger on the 13th. Your day early on the 12th, like I said, get in as early as possible. We had crews checking in as late as 7, 8 o'clock at night. If you're past 10 o'clock, you will need to go to logistics in the radio room. But hopefully you can get there before that time while it's still light, so you can see your way around base camp.
And I believe the procedure is if you're going to be there a day early, you need to enter that in the camping gateway so that they know to expect you, right? You can't just show up early. They have to know you're coming. Is that correct?
That is correct. The gateway, fill that in with your arrival information, as best you can. The Welcome Center also staffs themselves based upon the arrival times. Typically 10 to 2 is kind of the rush. 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock is a big rush in the morning. And then about 1 to 2:30 in the afternoon, it's a big rush. That's about the time the buses get in from the train, and also the buses getting down from Denver or up from Albuquerque.
Yeah, we got in at 2:30, and there was nobody there but us. We had 2 buses, a big one and a small one. So there was nobody in front of us, nobody behind us. So it worked out perfect for us.
Oh, I meant to ask you, did you get Tony G? Was he one of your drivers?
No, I did not.
Oh, you got ripped off.
Oh, okay. I'll ask for a refund.
There was one morning at the Welcome Center, they welcomed 12 crews in 22 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
There you go.
They did a good job there.
Yeah, they did. They did real good.
The other thing is unless you're on a bus bus, you will not unload your gear at the Welcome Center. It'll stay in your car and you'll park it.
Got it.
Yep. Got it.
All right. So we saw a question about flags. What you can't see is I am frantically scrolling in another screen here to see if I can find a picture of it. I'll go ahead and tell you. Yes, the crew leader still gets an American flag.
Yep.
And I'm still desperately scrolling through my I believe it was 1,025 pictures. That's just pictures. That's not videos. I don't even know how many videos. I haven't counted those yet, but it was a lot. Jake will tell you.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
We videoed a lot. It was fun.
Jeff, and I'll throw this out. I don't know if opening campfire is the same as it was when we were there at the beginning of June, but that 4:30 opening campfire, our crew never made it to because we had a scout get held up in med check with some forms. And so we never got a flag, and we didn't find out until we got to closing campfire, and they said, hey, everyone get their flags out that you carried with you on the trail. So if the opening campfire is still very early and you, for some reason, don't get there, make sure you say something to your ranger about, ensure you get that U.S. flag to carry.
As of July 1, Josh, opening and closing campfires are back in their original positions.
That's awesome.
In the evening at I think 8 or 8:30. So
good. That's good.
Opening campfire should be the place that the crew leader gets the flag. Also, the with the COVID update on July 1st, religious services, the crew can separate and go to their preferred religion of choice, or three can go to Protestant, 4 can go to Catholic, and whatever. Prior to that, they were asking crews to stay together, but they've opened that up.
Oh, good.
I found one. Sort of. Okay, if you can see this, this is actually Jake's son Baron, who it appears his head is missing here. You can see his little crew leader flag under the pack cover because it was raining. He didn't want his flag to get wet. So there you go. The flags are alive and well for crew leaders in the backcountry. All right, let's see.
And like Josh said, remember to bring it to closing campfire.
Yep.
There was a question about tents and tarps, ground cover back there somewhere.
Yeah, where did that one go? I think I missed it. Here we go. From Facebook user, are ground cloths needed for Philmont tents? That was number 1. Number 2, can leaders take solo tents? I'm just going to be the rebel and say yes to both of them.
Okay, I'll be the opposite.
Disagree? Okay.
Yes, I'll be the opposite. Yes for ground tents, and the only time I let leaders do a solo tent is if it's necessary. They can share the tents just like the scouts. They're not any better than the scouts. That's my feeling, and that's how I run my crews.
And when you say solo tents, no bivy sacks. They really want a tent, if as such.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a solo tent because we had 3 males and 1 female. So the female had her tent, and I had my tent.
You're better than your scouts, so that we get it.
Yeah, that's it. If the scouts have to sleep together, the adults can sleep together. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you for 10 days.
Jake would have killed me if we had to share a tent.
I don't know. I'm pretty loud, so
yeah, it would have been ugly. But anyhow, so short version, how that discussion went with our ranger was, okay, so your scouts are using Thunder Ridge tents, the loaner tents from Philmont. Okay, awesome. Adults, what are you using? And we all said, we all brought our own tents. And he said, okay. That was it. That was the extent of the discussion. So that you can argue what the intent of the rule is and whether it makes sense, or you can talk about all of that. But at the end of the day, from a practical standpoint, we did have to pass up. I think it was our first night at Rayado River. We had to pass up the first campsite we found because there was not sufficient room for all of our tents. We found another one that had plenty of room, and we didn't have any issues the rest of the trek with having enough room. We had once or twice where we got a little close, I think. But that is the risk, is what if that was the only campsite left and we couldn't fit in it because we had too many footprints. So, yeah, we knew we were taking that risk. That's part of what you have to be worried about there. Let's see. Scrolling through here. Let's see. We covered a lot of these questions. Hygiene products. What should you bring?
Nothing. Leave everything at base camp. You don't need nothing but camp soap. Is your hygiene?
Man, you're tough.
I am tough.
Your lack of hygiene disturbing.
Hey, 10 days straight. Why did I take? What do you think? I didn't take a shower at Poniel. I'll be at base camp the next day. What a waste of water.
Oh my goodness.
I was wet anyways. Who cares?
a little baby powder or foot powder, splash
that's
under your
about it.
shirt in the morning, just kind of refreshes you and kills the stench for a little bit. By 9 or 10, it's back. But
Some of the
temporary
some of
relief.
the unscented, I know we get into a whole discussion whether it's unscented or not or smellable.
Yeah.
But the wet wipes, 2 or 3 of those, take care of, as a nurse once said on one of my treks, take care of the pits and the privates, and you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to say what I used every single day was a toothbrush and just a tiny little bit of toothpaste. You barely need any. And it does become an issue of, are you going to spit in the sump and then have to pour a liter of water down to clear it out? Or do you swallow it? I just use a tiny little bit of toothpaste and then swallow it so I don't have to use the sump. That's my real daily hygiene. And I've said that on prior treks, I wash my pits and crotch and feet every single day. But I sweat a lot on the prior treks. This time it was cooler. There were days I didn't want to expose myself to water because that'd make me cold. I went a number of days and didn't wash anything, and because I barely had sweat or hadn't sweat at all, it felt like. So, and I didn't feel unclean. I'm sure I didn't smell good, but that was something different for me on this trek, just based on the weather that was presented us. If it was all sweaty, I'd have done it every day. And I also washed clothes. I had clean clothes to put on almost every day till we got to the end of the trek, when I miscalculated and left all my wash out. Me and Jake and Reese all went up and used the washboards and at Hunting Lodge and hung everything up. It was almost dry, and then we went to the advisor's coffee, and next thing you know, it starts raining buckets of water. All of our stuff got it got an extra rinse cycle. It rained the rest of the time, never dried out. So I was down to what I was wearing is what I had left. So I didn't put new clothes on every day then, but it was cold and I wasn't sweating a lot anyway, so it was okay. But that's it. The toothbrush was the only real daily hygiene I did. But as far as wet wipes or anything, I had a camp towel and another kind of small towel. It was actually sold as a golf towel to hang off your golf bag. So I used those two. One is a washcloth, the other is a towel for when I needed to wash myself, whether it was in a shower or just with some water in camp, whatever.
And bandanas, 2, 3, 4 of them just work.
Yeah, those can work also.
I don't know if that particularly answered the question Catherine was having there. I hope it did. There may be some other issues between male and female, but
sure. I can't speak to those.
I'm not going on that side of the fence.
No.
Yeah.
There is a Facebook group out there for Philmont female trekkers, but I can't remember what's it called again. I can't remember. Anybody remember what it is?
It's spelled weird too. Like all the F's are a PH, but I don't remember. I don't know. Maybe someone will leave it in a comment. All right. Thanks, guys. And thanks from Facebook user and Facebook user. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Keep the questions coming, and we'll keep working our way through them. Oh, this one for me. Given the rain, were the trail runners still okay in mud, or would boots have been better? I should have brought them up here. I took, unusual for me, I took mid-height trail runners. I usually do the low cut, but I'm also a high school wrestling coach, and about a week before the trek, I did something on my ankle and it swelled up and it was really tender, and I'm also really clumsy and I didn't want to bump into stuff, so I wore some Ultra Lone Peak mid height, just so I had a little padding on my ankle for when I bumped into stuff, because it hurt like crazy if I bumped into something. And I loved them. I thought they were awesome. I actually hiked the first half of the trek with my shoes untied, and I just put a knot in the end of each lace so they wouldn't pull through the top, and left them as wide open as I could. And they felt wonderful. They ventilated very well. Only problem is I kept getting little pebbles and sand and stuff. I got pretty quick at just rip it off, shake it out, put it back on, but it was getting annoying to me. So I started tying just the top to seal it around my ankle to keep grit from getting down in. I might actually do trail running gaiters, the super light breathable gaiters next time, just to keep crap from getting down in the top of the shoe. But I had zero issues with, ankle support or any of the things people usually say they need boots for. Wasn't a problem for me. And mine never really got wet. We had a couple people who on stream crossings, fell off a rock or stepped in something deep and their foot got soaked all the way through. I never got my feet never got wet from any of that. When it was raining all the time, I did get soaked through one day, but wasn't a big deal. Just kept hiking, and the right socks did fantastic. I got no blisters or anything the whole trek. So, yeah, I don't think I'll ever wear boots to Philmont again, ever.
No.
And I did on my first trek.
Oh, I wore my boots as always, and they're a nice Philmont dirt color now. The mud is still caked on them. I'm waiting for them if I can peel the mud off of them.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So taking food. Did anyone have problems getting snacks for your treks? We got no snacks or extras at Sawmill because some scouts for lack of food. I don't know what bonks are. That's interesting. We had to get the emergency stuff out and hit the swap boxes. Yeah, I personally, this new system of you get your main meal packs that are sealed and they have a certain amount of stuff in them. A lot of those meals were super light on content and calories. And I looked at them and went, seriously, this is a lunch or this is a breakfast, even sometimes for dinner. And the idea was you would supplement them from the menu of items that your crew leader could select from either in base camp or at the commissaries, all the additional crackers and extra stuff. But I don't feel like that they were given good coaching on your meals aren't going to be enough if you don't get a bunch of extra stuff, like what you should get. And I do understand that, like is reported here, sometimes they ended up at commissaries where some of the stuff wasn't available. So I'm not sure that I'm a huge fan of how that program of the separate menu for extra stuff is working out. What did you guys experience?
Yeah, because in years past, if you had, let's say, the cheese, they would automatically give everybody crackers. Or they gave everybody the flat tortilla shells automatically. You didn't have a choice. This year, you had to ask for that stuff. And one time, our leader didn't ask for anything, and we had to go back and say, hey, we want crackers. So I guess it's one of the new things they're trying out and see if because some people didn't want crackers. They all end up in the swap box. Maybe that's, or the tortillas, or a couple years ago, they used to have bagels. They used to give you bagels. You know, try to put 12 bagels in the backpack. It's not very pretty.
Right.
So I think maybe it's something they're trying to cut down on the waste, maybe.
Yep.
The tortilla shells, a dozen of them are pretty weighty. They carry a lot of weight.
A lot of weight, but those I like taking because that saves on the bowl. That's one less thing you have to wash that night.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind taking those, but the crackers, sometimes they used to give you the large roll, a large box of saltines, and by the time you get to them, they're not saltines anymore. They're
saltine
crumbs.
Powder.
Yeah, they're saltine powder. So I guess that's what they are, trying to save on trash maybe, or waste, or stuff going back in the swap box.
And I'm not sure if you know of all the meals when they're out there, because a couple times we could have used, the stuffing or something else, but when you ask for it, I'm not sure if you know. I don't think my son, who is the crew leader, went through and said, oh, we could use stuffing with this, or we need, something else with this.
Yeah. So like Jeff said, there wasn't a lot of coaching by the ranger explaining that. Maybe the ranger could explain that a little bit better next time.
Yeah, I think we had picked up the initial food packets, and they were sitting there, but there was so much going on, and like 50 packets laying on the ground. He didn't know to look through and go, oh, wait a second. There's a pack of cubed chicken and almost nothing else. We really need the stuffing to make a meal for that.
Yeah, that's true.
How would he have known that? That was not very well executed, I think. But now everyone knows when you see the dinner, whatever number it was that had the cubed chicken and not much else in it, be sure you get the stuffing or load up on some other stuff that you're going to be able to eat.
Yep. We'll do it next year.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the spicy nuts.
Spicy nuts.
So whenever
Ooh.
there's a question on what you should get, just get the spicy nuts.
There you go.
What about the? Did you get fruit at the commissaries? You know, apples,
Yep.
oranges, pears.
Yep.
And what about the shelf stable milk?
I traded mine.
We passed
know
on all
if
the fruit and vegetables. We did get some at Baldy Town where they just had a bowl out at the staff camp, but we just found no way to really, all you need is a smashed banana or smashed apple in your pack.
Yeah.
And now
those are usually eaten right away when you pick them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we told the boys to eat it right away, and like I said, I got my milk and traded it for something else.
Yeah.
We found those supplemental choices caused just another friction point too, especially deeper in the trek you went, where now they're arguing over, well, I don't want peanuts, I want this. And so it just was wasted time standing at the commissary arguing about, well, we only have 4 selections, so what are we going to choose?
Yep. Yeah, that's easy. Spicy nuts. Done.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. This is really about frog togs, and I know that I've seen some pretty strong opinions in the group about frog togs are trash or they're not durable enough, and you are a terrible person if you send anyone to the backcountry with frog togs. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen people who are attentive to their gear and careful and are able to use frog togs the whole time, and they work great, and there's no problems. And I've seen people who blow through them in a day, and now they've got rain pants with a big hole in them. Even that's not the end of the world from what I've seen. But something, I'll give you something that in my my Philmont gear guide, when we talk about rain gear and frog togs, I suggest be careful who takes them. If your kid tears stuff up and is not attentive to their gear, don't get them frog togs. They're going to rip them up, and they're going to end up getting wet and cold, unless they go with Joshua and have no rain on their trip, in which case they'll probably be fine. But if they can take care of their stuff, then maybe they'll be okay. But they're so light. Throw an extra set, top and bottom, in your crew gear if you want. If everyone wants to take them, they're so cheap that for an extra $15, $20, you have a complete extra top and bottom in case someone blows through theirs. It's an idea. It's a good idea. I don't know. You be the judge, but it's an idea.
Yeah, frog togs work. I used them in 2013 for the first trek, and they lasted good. But again, I've seen, like you said, kids rip them on the first day. So it depends on the person.
I don't know what the question is there, but towards the end, the Philmont tents were another issue. I'm not sure what that comment is leading to. Were they good or bad?
Our crew had them. Everybody but 2 people used them, and we had no issues with them. We had 4 or 5. We had 5 Philmont tents, and we had no issues with them. Matter of fact, they were drier than. They all stayed dry unless somebody messed them up. So,
yeah.
To this question, I would say, a ground cloth or ground tarp, absolutely. Whether it's a Philmont tent or your own, I'm a, Jeff and his trail runners. I'm a ground cloth guy for a tent.
So we purchased a big roll of sheathing from Lowe's, and we ended up needed more than we thought. And I didn't have a ground cloth for my tent, and it held up fine. I mean, I wouldn't not suggest it because it is better for your tent, but if it's something you don't have and you're scrambling to get it at the last second, I mean, it's, I suggest having it, but I didn't have one, and my tent did fine.
Our ranger told us leave them, and the moment he turned around and walked away, I said everyone grab their ground cloths and put it in their pack.
Yeah.
So we didn't need them because of the lack of rain. It really wasn't that cold, but we took them anyway.
Yeah.
Another reason for 608 crew, get there early before the rains.
Yeah.
I wish. Hey, Jeff, there was a question about COVID forms up there somewhere. I don't know if you saw it.
I'm scrolling to make sure I didn't miss anything here.
While you're looking for that, the Welcome Center will ask the COVID questions. And as long as you answer them properly, you'll be moved along. I do not know if either registration or med recheck actually asks for the forms, but I would have them with you, documentation just to be safe. But as far as
even though it's already been uploaded to the secure medical portal,
right.
I mean, that's a question I saw a couple times in the group.
Yeah.
Recently was, we've already uploaded them. Should we still take them? Well,
Yes.
I think that's the same answer for any scout trip. Even if you've uploaded a digital copy, go ahead and take it just in case something happens with the digital copy, because otherwise they're going to send you home.
Because
and the other thing is, maybe you don't get, if you've been vaccinated, you're probably okay because you've had that card. But if you're just doing a test and having the negative documentation come back, you may already have, left on your trek and you can't upload it into the gateway.
Because I kept hard copies of everything. I think medical asked for the consent forms and they wanted to see them all, and they didn't even keep them. They just wanted to look at them. But I took hard copies of everything because we uploaded all the medicals, and one or two of the people, they couldn't read the uploads. So they couldn't read a couple of the pages. The uploads didn't come through. So they asked for the hard copies to go with it, like the first page of one person and stuff like that. So always carry hard copies of everything.
Oh, you didn't see that, Jake.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Baby trash? You just killed a dog.
Oh, is that what you guys said?
Yeah.
Our ranger said,
one piece
you're supposed to say, I love forest fairies.
Nope. Ours killed it. We killed a dog. That was pretty sad.
Wow. That was harsh.
That was harsh.
I think Trevor was nice to us, just said, I love forest fairies. And the response was, or no, I believe in forest fairies.
Forest fairies, yeah.
Yeah.
And they believe in you.
Yeah. Which I heard another crew that had something similar, that they said, I believe in forest fairies. And the response was, oh, yeah, you do. Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. But
no, man, we had a rough ranger then. He was one of the Navy guys. We just killed dogs.
Gotcha. All right. So recommend people test out their gear. We had a guy, one of our adults, his rain gear failed. I don't know if it failed on the trail during the trek or if it had already failed before the trek started. But he had not stood in the yard and had people spray him with a hose. What he found is his rain jacket soaked through. Oh. Even though it was like a Carhartt, really nice rain jacket, it completely failed him. He actually got cold, and we had a night that, we were shuffling the kids down from Upper Clark's Fork to Clark's Fork to get by the fire to dry out and warm up, because we had a couple that were worrying me for hypothermia issues. Yeah. And this guy climbed in his tent, and I was like, dude, come on, come with us. Come sit by the fire. And he was grumpy, and no, I'm getting in my tent. And like, all right, you're an adult. It's up to you. But make sure your rain gear works. Don't whatever it is. I don't care what you take. Just make sure it works beforehand.
Yep.
Make sure your gear is packed safely in dry bags. I like that, because when it starts raining, everything starts getting wet, man. That dry item that's going to help you warm up is very important. So yeah, I don't know about how much spare you need to take, but be sure you have enough, and be sure that it stays dry. My wife and I really enjoyed our trail runners, but wish we had boots for base camp mud. I don't know. I just tried to walk around the areas that were too muddy in base camp. That was my strategy. Let's see. I have trail runners and wool socks. Will this be okay? Do I need liners or anything else? So I am a huge fan of Right Socks, WRIGHT socks. They are made 11 minutes from me in the USA, in Burlington, North Carolina. and they're dual layer socks. So the question of do I need a liner sock or not really goes away when you wear right socks because they have the liner built in. So now is time for one of this evening's shameless plugs. There will be many, I'm sure. If you go to Gear-Report.com and under the camping and Philmont section, you will find an article, How No Blister Socks Are Made, Right Sock Factory Tour. And that is where I walk through the Right Sock factory with my little gimbal, 4K camera. And I had the one of the guys mic'd up talking about the operation and the socks and everything while we went through. So really fascinating if you're into that kind of thing. And we used Right Socks on our 2017 trek. Right Socks supplied our whole crew with socks. Again, on this trek, 2 crews, we were 618 A1 and A2. I was able to get socks for everyone, at least everyone that was on the roster when I put the order in. And I don't recall hearing of anyone who was using Right Socks that had issues. We did have a couple blister issues. We had a couple people who weren't wearing the Right Socks the whole time as well. I don't know what the overlap there was, but my thought there is this is the best solution I have found. If you don't want to wear Right Socks, you can do like Smart Wool or Darn Tough or any number of other options. I would probably do a liner if I were wearing just a single layer wool sock, though. What do you guys think?
So I ditched the liners about day 4. I wore liners throughout shakedown and prep. I wore them in 1992. I thought I'd wear them for the duration, but for some reason my feet about day 3 or 4 they weren't quite hot spots, but the balls of my feet just hurt. And so I decided, I think coming out of Dan Beard or Dean Skyline, maybe just to leave them in the bag that day and see if that changed anything up. And I felt better that day, that night when I got to camp. So they stayed in my pack for the rest of the trip. And I think it's one of those things that it's probably a little bit of, mileage varies for each person. So if they work for you, try them out, and adjust to it. And everyone's a little different.
I wear wool socks with no liners, so that's just the way how I do it. Everybody's different. That's what the practice hikes are for.
Amen.
I had a combination of Darn Tough and Smart Wool socks, and they seemed to work fine for me the rest of the way.
Yep.
So I think, Jeff, they got us the Explorer there's 2 different socks. I think I liked can't find them now.
We had the Eco something, and the thicker ones, the blue ones were the Explorer.
Yeah, so I think you got the Eco Light Hike and the Explorer. I think I liked the Light Hike better. They felt more comfortable. They weren't as thick, and they breathed better, in my opinion, than the other pair. But they both worked really well, and they dried pretty quick. So I always had a dry pair every morning.
Yeah, good feedback. So after the 2017 trek, I gave them feedback that the light hike model that they had then, the knit spread apart on my heels a little bit too much and got a little uncomfortable. So they went back and they changed the specification so it's a denser weave, and I didn't have any issues with it spreading out on them this time. So yeah. I like them. I'll keep plugging them because they're good people and they're down the road from me, and it brings money to my community, which is all good. But at the end of the day, it's really because I don't get blisters when I wear this sock.
Yeah,
they're comfortable. So
yeah, I barely had hot spots, much less blisters. So
yeah,
I like them.
I just had waterlogged.
Yeah. Let's see. Scrolling down here. I think most of this stuff in here has already been addressed. Here's one about, do you put, and I saw some discussion just today in the Facebook group about, do you put the ground cloth inside or outside the tent? Personally, I put it under the tent with the idea that it's protecting the floor of the tent from abrasion. There's a lot of stuff on the ground there, little rocks and stones and sticks and whatnot. And I want to protect the floor of the tent from all that stuff. So that's why I put the ground cloth down there, and also to keep any moisture from kind of coming up through the tent. What do you guys think? Inside or outside or both? I actually saw someone who said both too.
Outside.
Outside.
Yeah, definitely outside.
I'd go with the outside unless you already know that your floor of your tent is gonna, let water leak in, and then you might go with the inside, like a bathtub.
What is this? July 6th, 9:01 p.m. Put it on the calendar. We all agreed. Everyone on the panel agreed on something. It's amazing.
There you go.
All right.
The fifth
Christmas
Dennis
miracle.
caved.
Yep. All right. Not sure if this is the right group to ask. I'll tell you, it is. But is hair conditioner a yeah or nay on the trail? Oh, yeah.
Nay.
Ask me. I can tell you all about hair conditioner.
It's a
Very
nay.
important to me. All right, Jake. Show off.
Yeah, I didn't use any conditioner. My hair was very naughty.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends upon whether you got hair or not.
Dude, I'm right here. Come on. Yeah, so I think conditioner is probably considered a smellable and frowned upon, and really just don't. I would not even bother with it.
Leave it at base camp.
Yeah, keep your head on. Just keep your head on.
There you go.
Oh, check it out. The Spicy Nuts Army is out there, and I've got something for you. Here we go. Give me a second to get to the right one. Here we go. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, there you go.
And Cajun Sticks Trail Mix. It's glorious. All right, here we go. Back to the panel.
There was a question about bugs somewhere in there.
Oh, I'm still scrolling.
Okay.
I had liners. Let's see.
Yes, I heard you, Sal. Bugs. From what I've heard, mosquitoes are more prevalent this year than they have been in the past. So
Oh, my goodness.
You might want to put in a little extra bug repellent.
So I actually found in the crew advisor's lounge, someone had abandoned a spray can of a permethrin type spray. And I sprayed some of my stuff, the tops, all my socks and shorts and shirts and various things, soaked them, let them dry in base camp before we hit the trail. Didn't help one bit. I still got, my ankles are a mess right now because of all the little, people were calling them chiggers or no-see-ums. They look like little sand fleas to me. I don't even know what they were, but they tore me up. And as bad as they got me, our ranger, every bite that I got just made a little red dot. Every bite he got made a much larger red dot with a little pus pocket in the middle. Like, I was worried he was going to end up at the infirmary because of these little guys, because they did not react well to him.
Yeah, see, we were the complete opposite where we were. We had nothing.
Even in base camp, Jeff, I got them, and I went to the infirmary one day, and the guy said, "Oh, they're mosquitoes." And I said, "Look, I'm from Missouri and Minnesota. Those are not mosquitoes."
Yeah.
Well, we're from Florida. Do you want to talk about? We had no mosquito. We had nothing. Nobody complained. I don't think we even used. I think we had one little spray bottle of bug spray. I don't even think it ever came out of the pack.
I mean, I went through almost a whole tube of cortisone 10 just to keep the itching down.
Wow. Yeah, I got wipes. They were so bad in base camp that before we even left, I got the little wipes from the Tooth of Time. Instead of getting the spray bottle of the 30% DEET spray, I just went with the little foil packs, kind of like wet wipes. And I used a few of them, and they did seem to help keep the bugs off me and get things under control. But I didn't use them the whole time. When we got up at higher altitude, I had no bug issues. But whenever we were at the lower altitudes, they would just tear me up. And that's the first time I have been at Philmont and had any bug issues at all. It really surprised me because my advice for years has been, you don't need bug spray in the back country. There aren't bugs back there. I'm telling you, they came after me with a vengeance this time. So that advice is changing.
And right around the top of the socks in the tight area.
Yep.
Maybe it depends on your trek. Like I said, Trek 24 had no issues.
You were in the North Country, so in the South Country we had some pretty persistent, and that's base camps in the South Country. So Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was altitude or geography. I don't know. But we needed some bug protection. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. Let's see. What's the best route to and from Baldy Summit from Baldy Town? Sal, you just did this, right?
No, not from Baldy. Yeah, up. Not from Baldy Town. I came from the other side, from the Copper Park side. But from Baldy Town, you just follow the trail. I mean, there's only one trail up.
Yeah, I was going to say, from Baldy Town, there's only one trail.
You go up and you go all the way up, and when you get to the switchbacks, you get to the one little post there. If you go right, you go up the mountain. You go left, you go to Black Horse. So kind of hard to miss it.
All right.
We came via Black Horse Creek, that morning. So it's just following those switchbacks up to the top.
There's only one way up on that side. On both sides, there's only one way up, unless you want to do the lightning trail, but nobody goes that thing. That's no man's land.
I've watched people do that, and it was bad news.
I've done it once, going down. Never do it again.
Yep. Yeah, that's what they said too. Once we told them before going down, because the scouts didn't want to go, and the adults were so just shut up and go. And they're like, no, we don't. We think we should go on the ridge line and switch back. No, just go straight down. It'll be good. And we pulled the adult aside that was driving it and said, dude, no, seriously, you don't want to go that way. Just we're going the ridge line. Come with us. And I thought he was going to start a fight up there, and he was determined they were going down. They showed up at French Henry about 45 minutes after we did, and they wouldn't look us in the eye, especially that guy. He was like they had most of them had fallen and had scrapes and scratches, and they were miserable. So don't do the lightning trail. Do the ridge and switchbacks.
Yep, do the ridge and switchbacks. Much easier.
One year we came from Copper Park and went up that shale pile. There is actually a trail there.
I'll pass. I'll take the sound of big trail.
Okay, let's talk about camp shoes. What do you guys use?
Crocs.
Yeah.
Crocs.
I am a Crocs evangelist on a daily basis. And actually, Josh's shoes look good to me because he didn't have vent holes in the front, right? That's why I quit carrying Crocs, because my son and I both have had issues where sticks come in through the vent holes in normal Crocs, and you end up with injured feet, and you don't want that on the trail.
The only bad place is when you're in the shower at Poneal, these fill up like buckets real fast, so you kind of
Right.
shake to get the water out.
So instead of Crocs, I took some water shoes this time, and they had nice rubber soles. And I actually got these for sailing. I do a lot of, I as a Sea Scout skipper, I'm on the water quite a bit, and these are wonderful for that. And I looked at them and said, there's no holes for anything to come in, any sticks or anything, and they were okay. I think I would have preferred to have Josh's Crocs over these, but they worked well for shower shoes, for around camp shoes. And to me, it's important to have camp shoes to let your feet be in something else other than the shoes you've been hiking in all day. And they're probably a little swollen and sweaty and smell bad. And you get out of them, wash them off, let them dry in your camp shoes and air out a little bit, and everyone's happy. That's my thought.
I had the same thing, the water shoes, and there was a bunch of spots where I needed socks for them because there were mine weren't super thick and the terrain was pretty rocky, but all in all, I think they worked pretty good. I'm not sure if your son's, I don't have flat feet, so I'm not sure what the issue with Crocs would be with him. So I guess
Crocs.
Ultimately, the water shoes were fine. If it's a weight issue, sneakers, I mean, you can carry a pair of sneakers with you, but it's just kind of extra weight.
Yeah.
Well, or sneakers that maybe a really old pair that are, almost worn out or whatever. They've lost some of their weight, but they still are, substantial for flat feet. And
yeah. Okay.
Again, that's what practice hikes are for.
COVID consent form. I think this is one you guys mentioned earlier, and I apologize. We got a lot of great questions, and we're trying to give each question enough thoughtful response that we're getting a little bit behind here. So I'm going to go ahead and make last call for questions. If you have anything that we haven't talked about, it looks like we got a pretty good list to get to yet. So let's go ahead and make a last call. If you have anything else you want to ask it right away, and we'll just cut off any new questions here in the next minute or two. So the COVID consent forms, yes, they do. I don't know if they have to be signed by a parent ahead of time. I honestly don't remember what they look like.
I want to say they did have to be signed by a parent.
Yeah, they did. They had to be signed by parents ahead of time. I just sent them all out to my crews and said, bring them to the airport with us. And of course, I brought extras for anybody who never showed up with them, but everybody signed them. I put them with the medicals, and I think I turned them in at medical recheck.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Reese collected all of ours in the parking lot before we even got on the bus to go to the airport. And he wouldn't let parents leave until they verified that all the forms that were needed had been signed. So good job, Reese. He was a good lead crew advisor for us. All right, let's see what this one says. Is it okay to wait until the entire crew is together for them to select their crew leader? So this is kind of an interesting situation. Most crews, I think, tend to be people who are around each other, and they can select the crew leader ahead of time. I think it's probably, personally, I think it'll be kind of hard to make a good crew leader selection if they haven't had at least a day or two together to get to know each other. But I mean, do what you got to do is kind of what I'm thinking. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we usually do crew leader probably on our third. If we do like probably 7 practice hikes. Usually about the third one, we start thinking about crew leaders.
Yeah,
that's that way. I let the crew leader, after he gets selected, he leads up the rest of the practice hike. He does everything. Gets him.
I think this question is based upon the fact that this particular crew is not all geographically in one place. They're spread around the country, and they won't get together,
right,
for 3 days. And that's going to have to be an individual call. It would be nice if the entire crew were together, and even though it is 3 days before, do the selection then. But you also need to put the crew leader into the gateway.
So I think another perspective is, more shameless plug time. You can go check out some new videos on Gear Report that while I was in base camp, I got together with Jack Rogers in marketing at Philmont. He took me to various different places, like to the ranger office and to the cons office and down to the cattle headquarters. And I went over to the Tooth of Time, and in each of those places, we shot some video with someone from each department. And if you look at a Rayado trek, if you look at any of the cons treks, like the OA trail crew or the regular trail crew or the ROCS, the Roving Outdoor Conservation School, any of the different treks like that, or trail hands for the cattle department, all of those involve a trek. Some of them involve doing some project, like the OA trail crew, the trail crew, the trail hands treks. All of them, like you do a week of service where you're doing work, and then you do a week on the trail. All of those are individual treks where people come together from who knows where, and they probably have never met each other, and then they do a trek. So obviously, in those scenarios, they don't select a crew leader months ahead of time. They hadn't met each other yet. They're probably selecting it partway through that work week, which sounds similar to this 3 days before they check in scenario that Hugh's talking about. So I'm going to say this is not unprecedented, and I wouldn't stress about it too much. Just make the best of it. All right, moving on. What, if anything, did you tell your crews about avoiding COVID and being smart pre-trek? I'm assuming, but so I'm going to make an assumption here that Jeff is asking when he says pre-trek, he means like before you even show up, like before we show up on the bus to be sure everyone is eligible to go and the crew doesn't get sidelined because someone had COVID, here's what you need to do or not do. I don't recall hearing anything, but I went with Jake's crew, and they're all together from the same troop, and I was the out-of-towner hour and a half away. So I think I was a little light on some of that communication. So did Reese say anything that I missed, Jake?
I mean, we told the kids to be smart and to wear masks because you didn't want to show up. And this was we were under the impression they were going to test us when we got there because of a form we got. So we said, you don't want to show up and have a negative test and then be stuck at base camp or be sent home or whatever the case would have been in that case. So we just told them to wear masks and to do the smart things, like not necessarily go to crowded places right before we're getting ready to leave. And a bunch of our kids had gotten vaccinated or were right at the edge of their second shot, so they were, they were in decent shape, theoretically speaking.
Yeah. We also told our contingent, the 4 crews I had, the shakedown the week before, pretty much the same thing. Be safe, be what you're doing. Don't do stupid stuff and go shoot hoops and twist your ankle 2 days before you leave and stuff like that. We also did, for whatever value it was, we took temperatures before we got on the bus and before we left.
Yeah. All right. So there's what we did. Let's see. Socks is very much a personal preference. And yeah, having that rotation with liners and wool socks, and we did pretty good. I thought I was really impressed with our crew, all the adults at least, the kids who knows, but the adults washing clothes and socks pretty much every day, washing what they wore that day so it would be dry by the next day or day and a half later, until we got into the nonstop rain later in the trek. And then, kind of like this says, it all went out the window. But
yes, that's how we were too. We washed it the first 2 days. Then on day 3, when the rain hit, it was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
nothing would dry because it was constantly raining out. So you could just wore your wet socks constantly. So nothing. I ran through all 4 pair of socks in 4 days. So the rest of the time I wore wet socks.
Just
nothing you can do about
recycle
it. Yep, recycle. You pick the driest of the wet.
Yep. I tried things like hanging them inside my tent. When they were dry enough, they weren't dripping and making a puddle. That really didn't work too well. It was still too humid, didn't dry out too much. Hanging them under the rainfly, I put one of the modifications I did to our rainfly was I put a ridge line underneath the tarp so that we could hang clothes from it. That really didn't work too well either. Nothing really got dry under there.
Nope, nothing gets dry when
it didn't get wetter though. That was nice.
Yeah.
So I think my wife would like more of a female opinion on what hygiene products to bring. This is from real early in the discussion, and I can't help you with that. I apologize. We got nothing but dudes today.
There was somebody posted the name.
Yeah, Female Forum or something like that. Go check it out. There's a lot of good information there. Ask questions within the Philmont Trek Talk Facebook group and use the search function to maybe search for female, and you'll see there are some really good chats. I have found personally they tend to shut down. I want to be helpful, right? So I run a website where we document as much of this information to share with people and try to be helpful as possible. And I've actually had a problem trying to gather information to publish, from the female perspective. It tends to be one of those, you're a guy, I don't want to share this with you. So it's just you. Well, probably. I'm kind of creepy, but I will put the offer out there yet again. Any females who have experience at Philmont and would like to document some of this stuff to try to help other women to understand what's going to be useful to them and helpful on the trail, I will give you a platform to do that on Gear Report. You have a platform within the Philmont Trek Talk group to share that information in whatever way makes you comfortable. Let's just be sure that we help everyone who is going to Philmont to have the best trek possible, regardless of what type of information it is.
Sal, you had a female with you this time, and I think she was on this forum at one time.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Maybe through Facebook, if they can, personal message or something.
Yes, she probably. I'm sure she would. She'll help out as best she can. But she's been to Philmont twice. This is her second time, and she backpacks a lot. So if they put it on the Gear Report, Philmont Forum Trek site, I'm sure she'll answer the question. She was on here earlier doing it, so she'll help out.
Yeah, good. Okay, is there a particular wipe preferred for smellable factor? Everything in an OPSEC, okay. Everything in an OPSEC is not okay. Smellable, it has to go up in the bear bags. OPSECs are not considered a sufficient way to deal with smellables. They still have to go up in the bear bag. And as far as wipes are concerned, we already talked about that. I don't carry wipes. I just carry a washcloth and a towel, both through a small camp size, and then wash them out, wash them out before I use them again. That's what I do. I think wipes are kind of unnecessary, in my opinion. Cleansing yourself, necessary. Disposable wipes, unnecessary, in my opinion.
But if you are going for wipes, make sure at least you get unscented. They still are smellable, but make sure you get unscented.
And only use them in the morning, so you have all day for that scent to wear off before night when you go in your tent. And you don't want your tent and sleeping bag to turn into a bear taco. So we want to keep the bears.
Just don't bring them.
Yeah,
don't bring them. Be hardcore.
I agree. I sort of agree to a point. Blocks equals sugar crashes. Okay, here's another complaint I have with the diet that they put us on. I eat very little processed sugars, very little sugars in general. You get out there on the trail, if you're like me and you're not used to all that sugar, you burn through sugar fast, and you do have kind of crashes and ups and downs. You got to keep eating. It's crazy. I'm not a fan of the way the nutritionists have set up the meals to be so obscenely carb heavy. But that's just me.
Yep. There was a question about somewhere I saw about gloves.
Okay. Jalapeno Velveeta cheese goes great with ham and tuna. Oh, with the tuna. That's awesome.
Yeah,
you also get a soup packet. You can mix that in. I did that. I did tuna, Velveeta, jalapeno cheese, and a soup packet. Mix it all together. Put on some crackers. Oh my goodness, I could go for some of that right now. The sriracha peanut butter, not available.
They didn't have it this year. Not this year.
If you can't tell that I'm visibly upset, then maybe you should zoom in on me, because I am upset. I was really looking forward to that. It was not available at all. Shame on you, people who put together the meals and did not include sriracha peanut butter. All right, I'm scrolling to see. We've already covered a lot of these questions. So we already talked about bugs. So we'll move on from that one.
916 on 916 is a question about gloves.
Oh, we're not there yet. We're still scrolling.
Gotcha.
Part of coming early is to see if we could offer 3 to 4 additional hours of service to Philmont. Interesting. Is logistics accepting volunteers before or after? Darrel, you volunteer. Is that a process that you know people because you've been there so many times, or is that something that other people like? Have you heard anything of people being accommodated for wanting to do some volunteer work?
It's really a case-by-case situation. Where do they need help? What's your level of either expertise or knowledge of Philmont and so forth. But volunteers, while they're accepted, it's kind of a unique situation. It's not wide open.
Yeah.
And as part of 50 miler to do additional service work there, I don't see an opportunity for that.
Right. Yeah, I would think
And,
that.
and it particularly is logistics accepting volunteers. I would say probably not, because the function they do there is rather specific, and they go through like a week of training on how to advise crews and the logistics and everything else. So
Yeah. Yeah, I would think that the overhead of having to structure service work, supervise it, provide tools, make sure everyone's safe, get them to where they need to go. That's all overhead that they couldn't fit in. This is me making an observation. I think that they will say no to
and as
that.
far as me personally, I had to go through the entire apply to Philmont as a seasonal employee. W-9 forms, all that stuff, insurance. I had to do some special testing that they wanted, that all the staff people need to take and so forth. So
Right.
It's not show up, hey, I'm here, I want to volunteer for the next day and a half.
Yeah. All right. Andy Parrish says, I use Darn Tough wool socks and Team Trail Runner, and had no issues, no liner either. Andy, I believe, has an article out there on footwear choices for Philmont. You can find it on Gear Report. You can find it on YouTube. Wherever you like to find articles from Andy Parrish Outdoors, you can go find those. We had a guy, one of the adults on our crew, use the Injinji socks, the toe socks. They freak me out because I can't deal with stuff between my toes, but he said they were wonderful, and that he has had issues with blisters from toes rubbing together, and that those socks cured that for him. So if that's an issue that you have, maybe look into the Injinji toe socks, and see if they'll help you. Another vote for Darn Tough socks. Y'all keep voting for other stuff. I'm trying to promote Right Socks because they're local, but that's fine. Test them. Always test everything. Back to the conditioner comment earlier. This is the important part. Yep. How about non-scented antiperspirant?
Nope.
The panel says
No.
boom. The panel has spoken. Yeah, chiggers. And that's what a lot of people were calling them in base camp and early on the trail, just chiggers around there. I hope that they fade out as we get more into the hotter part of the season, because they were miserable. And my ankles are still itchy, and I still have little scabs on them. I think I was scratching them in my sleep. I hated it. Go Scouts, go. Well, thank you, Facebook user. The Scouts are going. All right. I think we're starting to make a little headway in this long list of stuff here. Let's see. Yeah, good point. If a bear eats me, I won't need to worry about the hair anymore. True story. But a fed bear is a dead bear. Okay? Our Gia told us that many times. Our wilderness Gia said, hey, y'all got to remember, don't leave your stuff out. A fed bear is a dead bear. Hi, Stacy. She doesn't know we see her in the background.
No.
Maybe. That's
Speaking of bears, Jeff, how was it later in June and into the early part of July, the bear reports? I know being there early, they talked about every camp we went to that seemed to talk about bear procedures, making sure there were a lot of spottings because they weren't used to us. I don't know if it's worn down yet or not.
Same. And Jake's son, one of Jake's sons was on a mission to see a bear, and we didn't see any. I think the other crew, our 618A2 crew, who was in the North Country, saw a bear at some point. We didn't see any, but like you said, every camp we went to talked about lots of bear sightings.
I didn't see any. No bears on Trek 24.
Yeah. Okay, inserts and sneakers. Okay. I clicked this one because someone said thanks to Andy Parrish Outdoors. I thought that was nice. So I think we already covered that topic, though. Ranch hands, which every time I hear that, I want to do the, because they joke about, you're putting your hands in ranch. But again, you know what? we're going to look at this real quick since someone mentioned ranch hands. Share screen, Chrome tab. I need to go to the one for ranch hands. So if you have any interest in being a wrangler or a cowboy or cowgirl or whatever, working with the cattle department that does all of the horse rides and all the cattle stuff out there at Philmont, you can go be a part of the Ranch Hands Trek program. I encourage you to go find this on Gear-Report.com. It's an interview with Red, and I was pretty excited because I was supposed to interview Red in 2017. We were going to meet at Poneal because she was passing through with a cavalcade, and it didn't work out. Like, we saw each other in passing, but the timing didn't work to actually shoot a video. So I actually got to go to the cattle headquarters and go in the pen with the horses and interview Red to get all the information about and I got to ride in a Philmont truck without getting pulled off the trail, which was kind of neat. That was like a little bucket list thing. So we talked about this program, which is really cool. And then at the end, one of the horses came and kind of walked right up on us while we were talking, and it scared me a little, but I was okay. And we also had videos from the cons department, if you want to go see about the 4 different individual treks they offer, and then with the Rayado department, and it doesn't give away too much information. So you can go find all those articles right here on the official sponsor of Philmont Trek Talk Facebook group, which is Gear-Report.com. All right. Again, another shameless plug there because that's what I do for a living. So, all right. I think I read that we no longer need to provide our own gloves for the conservation project. Have you guys heard anything official on that? And did Darrel just drop out, or did he say something? I think we just lost him.
I think we lost Darrel.
Oh, here he's coming back. All right.
We brought our own gloves, but they did have some gloves.
Yeah, same.
How's that for the answer?
Yep.
Someone commented on my post because I sort of railed on it on my post-trek post, and I think someone from camp did comment that there are now, I'm trying to find it and I can't, of course. I think they said gloves are now available at all the con sites, horseback riding, stuff like that. Oh, here we go. Good morning from Philmont. We did make a change on the requirement for gloves. That info, of course, takes time to disperse, but gloves are now available at all con sites and climbing camps where you would need them. Bring your own is great, but we did make a change to that piece of the COVID plan. Nice.
I was not aware of that. Thank you for sharing. Once again, all of us is smarter than one of us. So you get the group think in here, and we end up with a better answer. And also some feedback. COVID forms, nothing is limited to only the parent signature. So Catherine, thank you. Or Caitlin. Catherine, where did I get that? It's clearly Caitlin. Thank you for providing some additional information there. Let's see. Oh, I'm not even going to get started on this one. I'm just going to say it is a very personal choice whether you want to subject yourself to the vaccine in its current state. It may be easier from a paperwork standpoint, but I highly encourage crew leaders or crew advisors, don't lean on people on this. This is a bigger deal than Philmont. So this is a personal decision. Let the families decide what they're comfortable with. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's see. Best way to help drive you to fire-heated rock. Yeah, and we did that some when we had fire-heated rocks available. So that's pretty good. Some good information here on how to warm up if you get cold, because we ran into a lot of that.
Even warm water, hot water into an Nalgene, take it in the sleeping bag with you.
Yeah. Let's see. Females use local fauna to help with the wipe. I thought fauna was animals and flora was plants. Did I get that wrong? Because using local fauna is kind of freaking me out a little bit. There's some things you just shouldn't get mental images of. You just need to let it go.
If you're using pine cones, make sure you go in the right direction.
Okay, good.
Just saying.
All right. Yeah. So on Gear Report every Wednesday we do a live show and it goes off the rails early. I've been rather proud of how the Philmont Trek Talk Q&As don't generally go off the rails. So I'm going to try to stop taking things off the rails here. Why do stoves need to be sent ground mail? I think that is more of like a postal carrier requirement. It's a shame.
It's because of the stoves can have fuel smells in it, and they're a flying hazard.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't clean bottles out and they have fumes in there, it could be a hazard on the plane. Simple as that. That's why they sent by ground.
Yeah. So
either ground mail or Amtrak. Amtrak doesn't prohibit them either.
So I sent a couple stoves out, U.S. Postal Service in this box, which actually it just we were out of town for a couple of days. We got home. This was waiting on the porch for me, so it just got back. But
There you go. Mine is still there. Mine is still at Philmont. So
we sent them the crew leader, who is a wonderful young man. Didn't tell me what stoves he wanted to take until it was really late. So for fear that they wouldn't get there in time via shipment, I went ahead and packed a couple in my backpack to go on the airplane as well. All of them got there. So the two that were buried in my backpack made it through airport security. TSA didn't flex their power and take them from me. And then the ones that I sent in the mail got there as well. And then just to not tempt fate with TSA any further, I went ahead and packed them all in the box to send home. So there's actually 5 stoves in there, 4 big ones, and then a little tiny backup stove just in case. And it all worked out. Here's an interesting. External versus internal. Is there a preference?
Are we all going to answer that question?
Either one will work fine. What did you use on your practice hike?
Yeah, there you go. Use what you're happy with. I always use an internal frame pack. I think technically mine is an external frame. It's just a real tiny frame ultralight pack. But that's a whole nother discussion. I'll say if you want to use an ultralight pack, I have carried on the last 2 treks a Z-Pack's Arc Blast, which is a 60-liter pack that is tops out at 25, 30, maybe 35 pounds. I think it's recommended for up to 30. I've carried 35 without it being too bad. We had a medical issue with the Scout that had to come off the trail, but to get him off the trail, we had to divide up everything in his pack, which meant I was carrying more than my pack was rated for, and it was heinously uncomfortable. I hated every step of the trail with that pack overloaded. So I will recommend that whether it's internal or external, make sure it has the carrying capacity to carry not just what you plan to carry, but give yourself a healthy margin in case you have to help some crew members out and carry extra. Don't make the mistake I did. Like, I love my Z-Packs pack. I don't know that I'll ever take it to Philmont again just because of that.
Philmont, if you rent a pack from Philmont, it'll be an external pack. External frame.
Interesting. All right, let's see. Wow, we got a ton of questions that we're very behind on. All right, still scrolling. All right, we already did that one. All right. Oh, I'm getting close. Here we go. A lot of carrier. Those fumes are considered hazardous materials, can't be shipped. Okay, yeah. I think it'll throw off some of the TSA equipment, some of the different screening equipment. They think it has explosives too. I recommend a cooler cloth as an option to save TP, have more reusable option. Isn't for every bodily function, but it's a great pea cloth. I'm assuming this is a female comment. I've heard a lot about the cooler cloth. Sounds kind of gross to me. but I'm not a woman and haven't actually tried to use one, so I don't know.
The comments that I'm seeing about them from the females who have used them, they come highly recommended. They
That's
like
same. Yep. Yeah, I think this is a situation where I don't get it because I don't have the right parts and wouldn't use it the way they use it. So I haven't really wrapped my head around it, but certainly I've heard great feedback from the ladies who have used it. Yeah. It can take a week or more to air at the stoves, or after your trek, you can wash them in the big stainless steel sink over by where you pick up your food.
back at the services.
Yep.
Outfitting services.
Our crew is on Trek 718. Any general comments? Send them along. What were you least prepared for? There's an interesting question. What were you least prepared for? Everyone, let's go all the way around the horn here. Josh, you can fire things off.
I think as consensus among the adults was just the sheer amount of space and weight the food is. You read about it. We heard it, heard it on this forum, heard you talk about it in your videos, but until you get 4 days worth of food and then divide it up and you feel pretty good about your pack and how much space you might have, and you try to cut weight, and that just eats it up. And, especially, that 4-day refill at Baldy midway through the trek, it's just like we're progressing, we're getting close, and then that just knocked us back down. So if you can try to replicate that in any way in your shakedown hikes, prepare for that. That's probably the biggest thing that sucker punched us.
Okay. Sal?
The food, I've been there before, so I've been there, seen it, so I knew what to expect on the food. We weren't really prepared for having that much rain. Even though we had rain gear, the 6 days of constant rain was something that I've never experienced at Philmont. So to me, I don't know how you're going to, next year we could go and could be dry for the whole time.
Right.
So, I think it was the rain. And let's see, what else were we prepared for? I think I might have subject my crew to a little bit more training, because I had two of them almost. Well, one got sent off because of asthma, and the other one I didn't think he'd make it, but he surprised me and made the whole thing. So I don't know how I could train them better. Here's a question I'll throw out to the panel. I've seen different crews do contracts. What are you guys' view on contracts for participants?
As in, you'll pull your own weight.
Well, no, you'll have to make it. The scouts are always busy. They're busy. They're busy kids.
They can't make all the training hikes and so forth. It really comes down to, we tried that one time, enforcement, and how do you judge it? It's always subjective.
Yeah, I think a big problem is the mighty dollar there. If you put up, $1,300 plus for travel and expenses, and then you say, oh, well, you didn't meet some of these contract requirements, some parents are going to get pretty irate.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So that's why we don't do them. But I was just wondering.
Yeah, I tend to think so. We had an issue on our crew with someone who had not prepared appropriately and wasn't ready to hit the trail, and had a medical issue and had to get pulled off the trail pretty much because he had not prepared appropriately. And I have spent some time trying to think about what could have been done differently to prevent that, because it was traumatic for the crew, for the individual. It caused a ton of stress for the parents at home, who were getting very, brief, incomplete messages about your son got pulled off the trail for a medical issue. And it was bad all the way around. And I have tried to think about what could have realistically been done to be sure that this person who was identified on shakedown hikes as not being in shape and not ready to hit the trail had really done what was necessary to be trail ready. And I can say that not enough was done, but I can't tell you what I think would have been appropriate to do. I've tried to wrap my head around, okay, so I think it's obvious that not enough was done. but what could we have done? And that's where I think maybe a little heavier hand from the crew leader or from the lead advisor to make sure everyone was ready to assess people on shakedowns and say, hey, are you sure you're up for this? You realize that what we just hiked wasn't really that hard compared to what we're going to do. You need to be better prepared, but as far as having something in writing, having something not subjective, something objective, I don't know. That'd be tough. But I think something is probably a good idea. So if you got ideas on that, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll share them with everyone that way. All right, we're going to keep moving here.
Before we jump off, any suggestions to least prepared for? We've touched on it a little bit. I got a good friend who's working in the infirmary, and his comment to me is, or not comment, but they're seeing a lot of people who are not physically prepared, but mentally prepared for this. I mean, this is probably going to be one of the toughest things. I think Josh mentioned it earlier. One of the toughest things that you're going to do when you see that pile of 60 bags of food that you got to get in your backpack, and hydration, and eating dehydrated food, and Jeff, what you said about sugars and all of this stuff. I mean, it's there for a purpose, and it's tough to get your head wrapped around it before you get there, and it slaps you in the face. But they're seeing a lot of people coming off the trail, for a day or two, to kind of regroup in base camp, and it's happening on the third and fourth day. It's not well into the trek. I mean, they're just being overwhelmed by not so much the physicalness, but the mental.
Right. Yeah, we'll have to think about how we can help people to mentally prepare, and maybe they'll give us something to talk about in future discussions. Oh, here's another thank you, Facebook user.
Yeah, I've seen that.
2 bears while sitting on the porch of Clark's Fort. You know what? I'm glad I didn't see him. I didn't want to see him. Thanks for hosting this event. Much appreciated. Well, thanks for all the people. We still got 54 people. We're approaching 2 hours. We still have 54 people watching via the various platforms. Thank you so much. I tend to think we're going to have to shut it down probably when we get close to 2 hours, just to respect everyone's time. But I really appreciate that we've had a lot of good questions, and I feel like we're helping here. So thank you so much to all the panelists for coming and being a part of this.
No problem.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun.
Scrolling.
I think while you're scrolling, I think one thing for us, the kids weren't super confident with the map reading skills, and I think that's something. They did a decent job, but you could tell they were like, I think it's this way, we're going this way. I think getting them out with a map in a spot they're not familiar with and having them read it with confidence is a big deal. Like, you can't take them to the local park and just be like, hey, where are you going?
Hey, we don't want to talk about map reading skills. I can tell you what we did this year. We took the long route to Sealy Canyon. We ended up at the fence line at Pony Hill Ranch. That tells you how far off we were.
Wow.
And I was a good advisor. I didn't speak up or anything. I just let them hike on.
Well, the other thing on that, on map skills too, is ask the navigator. If you have a question or you're concerned, and I know I did this when I knew we were actually headed in the wrong direction. I asked the navigator and the crew leader, take me through your thought process. Why do you think we should be going in this direction, or where do you think we are? And that gives you a good clue as to whether they're observing their surroundings, and in this case, the young man had the map orientated 180 degrees out of.
Wow.
Which, I mean, everything he told me was true, except it was the other way, So, but, question them and ask them, how did you come to this conclusion? And if you got questions and you get a little insight into their thinking, are they paying attention? Do they have navigating skills?
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, that's a skill that can be taught and tested beforehand. I think it's something I've heard every time I've been. Every time people say, wow, we wish we knew, we should have gone over this more. But everyone goes over it in their shakedowns. They don't realize how much they need to go over it.
That's
all
true.
Right. Luca tape.
Jeff, back up to that one you just had up there from Tammy Smith.
That one? Get water where you can?
You can ask at logistics. They have what they call the big board. When you walk in, they can tell you how many crews will be with you at any given campsite. You just got to be smart enough to ask the question, but they do keep track of it.
Yeah. All right. Good to know. And I'm trying to pick up the pace here so we can get through all the questions that were asked. So forgive me if I get a little quick here. Ronald packs were internal frame Osprey. That's what I thought. I think they may have updated and they're not doing just external frame anymore. Another vote for Kula.
We had 3 internals this year.
Okay, good.
Cool, great.
Luca tape, by the way, is for the feet to prevent blisters. That's good. All right. Oh, more thank yous. We really appreciate that.
The other thing is blisters, but you also make sure you have something for chafing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'll give you the warning. All right. This is too much information. I'm going to tell you this right now. But I'm a big fan of taking Gold Bond powder to shake in my shoes to help control odor, which can be heinous and have a little bit of friction mitigation and moisture mitigation. But also, I shake it down the front of my pants because it tingles, and I kind of like that. So I get to the point where it's like I like my daily tingle.
Jeff, somebody mute him.
I took the wrong stuff this time. I shook it, and it didn't tingle, and I was like, oh, I got 10 more days on the trail with this stuff. It was depressing. So be sure you take the right stuff, whatever it is, whatever meds or other stuff you take. Be sure you got the right stuff, because if you hit the trail with the wrong stuff, you got to live with it the rest of the time. All right? That's the takeaway. See, I made it sound like it wasn't just a bad thing.
Yeah,
sort of. We appreciate.
We're down to 1 rail instead of 2 rails. We're not quite off the track.
Philmont after hours.
It's more fun like this. All right. It's getting late. We appreciate everyone participating in this, by the way. I can tell you no one on here is being paid to be here. We're all here volunteering because we want to share information and help everyone have a great trek. So thank you, everyone, for being here.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about? I thought you told me I was going to get a check.
Dude, I told you we weren't talking about this on air.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You got a blue tag. Hang it up.
Oh, yeah. I got to show this. Check it. This is pretty cool. I wore this on my backpack. Okay, here's something that I'm going to go ahead and say. We announced late, and thank you so much, Darrel, for bringing this for me. I really appreciate that. I wore it on my pack, and the what we ask is anyone that's a part of the Facebook group wear something blue. It didn't have to be this elaborate. Just blue ribbon, something on where we could see it visibly. In base camp on the trail, saw 1 or 2 in base camp. So yeah, Josh got on his hat. I saw almost nothing on the trail. And I don't know if people just forgot or didn't get to it, or if they're a little shy about, well, do I really want to? I would certainly encourage you. It made my day whenever I ran into someone from the group and we got to talk and get a picture together, and I loved it. So
I wore mine all the time. I had mine on my belt loop in base camp, and then on the backpack on the trail. I ran into probably say 4 or 5 people.
Yeah,
it was nice. So
I walked up to a car at the Welcome Center, welcoming them to Philmont. Of course, I had my name tag on and said Darrel, and she looked at me. She said, "You're Darrel." from that Philmont talk page.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I have a very fragile ego, so everyone who recognized me and said something, thank you. That meant a lot. It kept me from getting too down and causing problems within my crew.
Yeah, he was a real nightmare.
Yeah. Amen, brother. All right, so I scrolled too far. Oh yeah, Andy giving the directions here. StreamYard.com, Facebook. Now that we've already said last call, no more comments, we get to the one where Andy instructs people on how to do comments appropriately. So remember that for next time. It's just a real simple little permission thing so it can actually show who you are instead of Facebook user. How thick a plastic sheeting? Is 2 mil good enough? I don't know. I use window film. It's the heat shrink window film. They call it polycryo in the backpacking world. It's super, super thin. And I've actually used the same ground cloth for 2 treks. Even though I ripped it at Poneal on day 9 of the first trek and taped it back together, and it held together through the second trek. So I don't think thickness is as important as how you take care of it and what material it is. And I am partial to that window film. Anyone else?
I use 3 mil.
That sounds
3 mil.
50% better than 2 mil.
Yeah, 2 mil will work. It just depends on the person. So
Good.
the 3 mil worked pretty good. We've been using it for years.
Actually, what I've used in the last couple of years is one of these newer space blankets, the orange and silver ones.
Yes. That's cool. Or even just a regular space blanket. It'll probably give you a little bit of benefits in addition to just being plastic. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I like those types.
I put the silver side up and it reflected, whatever heat I might have generated.
Yeah.
Talk about lightweight and packable.
Yeah. Here's one. Did anyone struggle more in any one day with navigation to the next site? And I'm going to say that for our crew, we had a different navigator every day. So some struggled more than others, but also some days the path was pretty simple, pretty clear. There were, anyone could have navigated. It wasn't going to be a big deal. Other days it was tricky. I don't care who you were. Good luck. So what do you guys, did you run into?
We had different navigators every day. It was pretty easy on Philmont proper, but once you get off Philmont proper, we're up in the Val. It was a little bit trickier. Like I said, we did the extra 6-mile route to Sealy Canyon, so we got the full Philmont experience on that trail, or lack of trail. But they did pretty good. My scouts did pretty good. They took a couple shortcuts and it worked. So I was proud of them when they could take some shortcuts when they had no trails.
Yeah.
We struggled out of the gate at our drop-off point. We never found the trail at 6 Mile to get to McBride Canyon, so we ended up wasting an hour and a half on some pretty rough terrain. Then the ranger finally said, let's go to the road. So I don't know if the trail just had not been used in a year and a half and it evaporated, but we never found it. But the big thing we had to keep an eye on when we went through camps. You get a lot of trails crisscrossing, and sometimes the sectional maps don't quite give you that detail on it. I need to go this way. So just make sure when you're walking through a camp and there's multiple, there's an intersection there, the wagon wheel coming in, you take time to be confident that you're choosing the right path.
Yep.
Nice. Amber and I wore our ribbons. I'm guessing, if I remember right, wasn't Amber in the crew with Jenny? Maybe. If so, then I at least saw Jenny in base camp and wearing the ribbon. So appreciate that. The idea is for the ribbons to help people find each other and share an interesting moment in the backcountry. So good. Darrel, here's your check. Thank you, Facebook user. That was good. I love hiking.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, you can never get too many checks, right? TJ Persichetti, I love hiking. That is a bold-faced lie. TJ is one of the writers at Gear-Report.com. He doesn't like hiking at all, okay? This is a scout group here, TJ. We don't lie to each other, all right? But thanks for being here. If anyone wanted to see what I was referring to, here's a link. And it was long enough ago that I'm not sure what it was referring to. But you can always type the link in. Actually, it was just a couple minutes ago. We are almost caught up. We're about to hit 2 hours, and we're almost caught up with questions. So this is about perfect. Everyone, we're going to go around in a minute and do like closing comments. If you have any words of wisdom, anything you didn't get to talk about, any topic you wanted to cover for the panelists here, get ready for that. Okay. Let's see. Any recommendations on tracking total mileage? I heard to add 30% to the guidebook mileage. Is phone app not worth the wait for this purpose? I'm tossing this one to Jake because I know he tracked everything for us.
So I just use my Garmin watch. It's a Voyo Active or Voyo Fit. I can't remember now. But the problem is you do have to sync it with the internet or with the with service at some point. So that was the tough part. Like I probably only got to sync it once every 4 or 5 days at best. And I pretty much only tracked the actual hike. I didn't track any of the walking around base camp or walking around the staff camps or anything. So I still have to compile that data. I just haven't been on the computer much since I've been back.
Oh, get it done, man. I'm dying to see that data.
Get it done.
Yeah. I hate to be so demanding, but come on. We need the data. I thought the number that you threw out early was like crazy high.
Yeah, it was
like
super
double.
high, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. I would say 30% is probably a good number. Talking with the people in GIS over there, the guidebook, from what I understand, is really camp to camp. Once you get to the staff camp and you walk around, finding your tent site, setting it up, going to program, back and forth and so forth, that's not in the guide. It is really, from Dan Beard to Sealy Canyon, it's point to point. It does take into account the trail because it's not airline, direct, but
not as the crow flies.
Yeah, but it only is camp to camp.
All right. I'm going to show you something since Darrell keeps bringing that up on the screen. I'm going to show you this picture that we took at the Welcome Center of Darrell's water bottle. I thought that was brilliant, and I kicked myself for not bringing one of those on the trail. I think that would have been magnificent. But
I heard one person tell me that they saw someone who took a Windex bottle, cleaned it out, but put blue Gatorade in and left the spray nozzle.
Yeah, nice. Boots or trail runners? With rain, would you go with Vasca, Ultra, or Solomon? I've trained with all three. I'll tell you what, I was very happy with Ultras. I almost wore the Ultras on the 2017 Trek and didn't because I was afraid they wouldn't vent well enough because they were not the really ventilated version. And I was thrilled with them. Couldn't be happier. I will wear Ultras for the foreseeable future. So comments from anyone else?
I mean, I went with boots the one time, and they were... I can't remember what brand they were now. It starts with an M. They were
Merrell's, right?
Merrell's, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they worked great for me, but one time, so it's not very indicative.
Yeah.
I'm team boot, so I'm the oddball.
I'm in the boot category, and I've used both Vasks and the Oslo or Osolo.
I went with Merrill trail runners. I would just say, choose wisely. We had a scout that went with a little bit cheaper trail runners, and we were duct taping them the last 3 or 4 days. They just got shredded and the rocks and stuff. So,
yep. Choose wisely.
Actually, on that note, we had a scout who didn't do any hikes in his boots on any of our shakedown hikes, and then brought his father's work shoes because he didn't know which boots were his and he was uncomfortable the whole time because he didn't have the right shoes.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun to watch. Not really, but yeah. Okay, campsites around Baldy. I don't think that it's like you get an option. You just have to, wherever you're assigned, that's where you stay, and it depends on what's available as far as campsite within any given trail camp or staff camp. Staff camps you're assigned, trail camps you get to pick, not the first or the last unless you're super late. And then, it's just whatever's available. Yep. Okay, let's see. And I'm trying to wrap things up here real quick. Jenny used the Relive app in combo with a Fitbit. There's a good way to track mileage. Andy Parrish, our trek was 86. Itinerary said 68. That's a pretty modest difference from what I hear. I would expect, maybe even more than that. If it's 68, you may expect to do 90 or 100 typically, but that's definitely in the right neighborhood.
Ours was 68 and we figured 95.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see when Jake compiles the data how far we went on ours. That was 62 maybe, I think is what it said, something like that. So airplane mode with low battery setting, that's referring back to the Relive app with the Fitbit, I believe. Another vote for Ultras. They're pretty good. And if you want to know what Andy Parrish Outdoors is talking about, you're going to have to type this in to YouTube and see, because I don't know what it was. But it starts 2 seconds in, whatever it was. I can tell you that part. All right, and that's the end of the questions. So right as we have eclipsed our 2-hour, more miles equals more fun. Hey, you pay to be out there. Get all the miles you can, right?
Is that the same?
Your cost per mile goes down appreciably, and you get better ROI on it because it's all about the ROI, right?
That's the same way I think about golf.
Yeah, right. If I'm going to go on the course, I'm going to hit the ball as many times as I can. Yeah. All right. Excellent. So let's make a tour around the panelists here to talk about anything that you didn't get to mention that you wanted to, any last golden tidbits of advice. This is your chance to do it before we wrap it up. If you don't do it, then it's not a, forever hold your peace. It's hold it until you go type it in the Facebook group or wait and talk about it next month. But here's your chance to help more people by sharing information. Why don't we just go clockwise again? And Josh, you can start things off.
Yeah, I just shared 2 quick things. Sandy in registration shared this with us when we were going through on the front side. If you have an opportunity, you get to a staff camp and they say we have a night hike or sunset hike or sunrise hike or some even little thing, even if you're tired, the crew's tired, take advantage of it. You're not going to, it's not like next summer I'm going to come back through there and get a chance to do it again. So we did that at Dan Beard. We had a couple long days early on, and I think the boys were ready to just call it a night, and we took advantage of a sunset hike there that they offered. And it was well worth it, and it brought morale up. So if you get a chance, take advantage of it. And as an advisor, I would say anytime you're at a staff camp and they offer advisor coffee, even if you don't drink coffee, take advantage of it, because it gives you a half hour or 45-minute break from your scouts. It gives, your scouts, vice versa. It gives you a chance just to sit there and talk to some other adults and, bring your map with you and your plan and talk to other crew leaders about, hey, what route did you take? Suggestions, talk to the folks on staff at that camp and get their ideas on routes and trails and things like that. But it's just an opportunity to, get away for a little bit and have a good conversation. So I'd say those are the 2 big takeaways, we came back with as adult advisors and lessons learned from the trek.
Those are wonderful. Thank you. Yep. Great tidbits for us. Sal?
Again, yeah, same thing. Always go to Advisor's Coffee. Even if you don't like the coffee, you get intel of who, what, why, when, and at next camp, or what the water situation is, or anything else. no matter how tired, cold, and wet you and your scouts are, try to make it fun. Let the scouts be scouts. We had a running joke with our crew that we started out at average age of 17. And as they made typical teenage boys jokes, their age limit went down. We ended up with 18 months. We were 18 months when we got off the trail because they were having a good time. Let them have fun. As long as they don't get in trouble, they can have fun. That's how we treat it. So, and please, thank you. You're welcome. Goes a long way to all the trails, to all the staff campers. Always be nice to them.
Yep. Excellent. Jake?
So if you have a campsite that has campfire programs, go to those. They were a lot of fun, and a lot of times they do an after show, which was a lot of fun also. And you know, we hear some funny songs and some cool things, and you know, it was a good time. And same thing about I skipped a couple of those advisor coffees because I wasn't in the mood to drink coffee, or I didn't feel like walking. But after I started going to them, you just meet so many nice people and hear cool stories from all over the country, and you know, that was great. And the other thing is, if you hit a camp that has a program that they can fit you in, take advantage of it, because it's probably something you're not going to get to do at home.
Yeah, that's the truth. Andy wants to know if you have any good stories about being on the trail with me.
You know, there are probably some.
Yeah.
I just don't know if we have time tonight.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, and there may still be young people awake that don't need to hear this stuff. So, good. All right. We're going to get that Ask Your Crew Leader shirt. Well, I'll tell you where I got mine is I have a vinyl cutter and some heat transfer vinyl, and I just, cut it out and ironed it on myself. So that's what I would suggest to you for the time being. I don't know. People want them enough and want to toss some money at me. Maybe I'll make some more, but I got a lot going on. It's going to have to be a lot of money. Yeah, just being honest. All right. Darrel, closing comments.
Taking a phrase from the Ray Otto, expect the unexpected. Be open. Don't have preconceived ideas that we have to do this, we have to do that, and the schedule says we got to do this. Be flexible. Let the program and as I said in the table talks that I did with the crew, I said there's magic in them mountains. Be open and let it come to you. Don't be resistive, and sit back and relax as an adult. You're on vacation. Let the kids lead.
Yeah.
The youth lead. Given the chance, they'll amaze you. They get it right more often than not. Believe me. Get out of their way and let them have a good time.
Great advice. Thank you so much to all the panelists for being here. I'm going to show you a few things here. Do you have something, Sal?
No, sir. Go ahead. I'm checking the radar for the hurricane.
Okay. So if anyone hadn't been there yet and hadn't seen it, this is what the mask that they issue you before you even get off of your bus or out of your car. They give you this to put on. Really neat with the Philmont bull and Philmont written on it. Not a mask fan, but that was the coolest one I've had. I'll thank our senior crew advisor, Reese, for getting this for me. Appreciate that. If anyone has council strips, maybe we should start a thread within the Facebook group to share special patches that you guys are having made. I'm sure there's some patch hounds in the group that would want to swap some patches back and forth. So I'll show you this one. Mecklenburg County Council is the unit that I went with is from. And then I got to show it off. I'm adding to the collection. I'm becoming an arrowhead collector. Who knew? So thank you so much for being here. Oh, look at that. And I appreciate everyone with the questions. Certainly appreciate everyone in the panel being here. I want to especially thank Josh and Jake, who are new to the panel. It can be a little daunting stepping up and going live.
Here's your
with us
patch
to
for
do
you.
this. Check that
There's a
out.
patch
Oh,
for you.
nice.
That's fancy.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was made by our council. That's the only way you can get that is if you do a trek. That's like our arrowhead, so it's a combination.
Nice. Yeah, I'm kind of digging that. So I won't ask you to send me one since you already said you have to do the
You got to
trek.
do a council. Well, no, some people got some. I did take some with me and give some out.
Yeah.
So,
All right. That's pretty jazzy. I like that.
Yeah, it's a jazzy one.
Yeah. So again, thanks for everyone for participating in the panel. Thanks for all the questions coming in. Please go check out the Facebook group, which is probably how everyone found this anyway.
Yep.
And leave your questions and comments in there. We've had a lot of great discussion.
Hey, who's going back next year? Darrell, you going back next year?
Absolutely, 6/13. Actually, it'll be there 6/12.
Yeah, I don't have any plans yet. I'm thinking I'm likely going to do what I did this year, which was, around October or something, put the Have Pack Will Travel post stuff and see if anyone wants to take me along. So I don't know.
We are 6/20 next year.
I hit the lottery this year and went with an absolutely awesome crew. There's a huge risk in just being a freelancer who shows up. But I couldn't have asked for a better crew. So I don't know if I want to keep pressing my luck in that regard, but regardless.
I want to along
we're
that line.
We're a 6/20 crew next year.
No,
We got six crews going again.
Yeah, I got 7, but anyways, along that line, Jeff, we had one crew and the contingent was made up of individuals from 4 different troops.
Yeah.
And the advisor said he'd never had a better crew. They came together immediately. They liked each other. They got along, and they had a great experience.
All right. If anyone needs a female advisor next year, reach out to Facebook user. They would be happy. She would be happy to go. And I believe if you go into the Facebook group and look at the stream through Facebook directly, you'll actually see the name of who that is. So I do poke fun at people who don't do the StreamYard.com Facebook so we can see their name. But regardless, thanks again. Oh, it was Jenny again. Got it. All right. We're going to shut her down for any panelists. If you want to hang out and chat for a minute, you're welcome to. For everyone else, we do this the first Tuesday of every month, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We generally have some openings for panelists. If you saw Josh and Jacob step up and be panelists for the first time this week and said, you know what, I want to be like them, let me know. Maybe we can include you on the panel next time. I think the next one will likely be similar to this, where we have more people who've come off the trail since this, and we'll get them in to talk about what's changed and what they learned and that kind of thing. It may be similar to this one. So let me know if you want to be a part of that moving forward. Until next time, we'll see you on the trail.